Sportscast presents Hoops Talk, hosted by Alabama basketball legend Erwin Dudley and sportscast contributor Ryan Christa. All basketball, from college basketball to the NBA. Listen to Sportscast Hoops Talk on digital radio, on the app, on your smart speaker, on Twitter, YouTube, Twitch.tv, and Facebook. Sportscast Hoops Talk. Rhythm, debate, layup, and dunk. Sports Talk, Hoops Talk.
Welcome to the Hoops Talk, presented by the Sportscast. Today is March 6, 2022, and if you have not subscribed, please subscribe in all our channels, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Apple Podcasts. If you're on Apple Podcasts, please leave a ratings and review. It'll help us out tremendously. You can listen to us on your smart speaker. Play Sportscast. Visit us on thesportscast.net and follow us on Twitter at the Sportscast1. Check out our app, Sportscast, and iOS Apple Store. Everybody, welcome to Hoops Talk. And I'm Ryan Christa, and I am here with SEC legend Erwin Dudley. Welcome to Hoops Talk, Erwin.
What's going on? Let's get it, baby.
Let's get it on. All right. So, like here we talk round ball. We'll start, college, important time of year because if you haven't looked at the calendar, is now March. So we're less than 1 week away from Selection Sunday. We'll be here next Sunday night at 9 o'clock giving you a tournament preview the best we possibly could. Maybe making you some money here. We'll see. So, but one of the most important, events that happened yesterday, happened down in Durham, North Carolina. There's a big fanfare with Coach K's, last home game at Cameron Indoor Stadium. What happened with the rival UNC Tar Heels come into town and they ruin it. They put not just beat Duke, but they throttled Duke. So big kudos to Hubert Davis and his boys. Now, the big picture, this takes UNC off the bubble, and puts them, I think, firmly into the tournament. They go from a team that can't win a quad one game to now, having one of the best victories, I think, in a whole season in college basketball, going into Cameron and such a night and beating. I think, we talked about last week, Duke being one of the hottest teams in college basketball, kind of rounding into form. And now, they stumble in the crucial. There's a lot of factors. Was it nerves, distractions? But what's your thoughts on that, Erwin?
Well, I think that like you said, the nerves. It was an emotional day. I'm pretty sure it's probably the whole week was emotional for the team. Building up to everything. I've seen how much the ticket prices was, so everybody was there. And so it takes a lot. It takes a lot to get your concentration and get your focus on a game like that. And so what happened was I think a lot of the players, they got wrapped up into the whole hype about who's going to be there, who was there, and Coach K's last game, and they didn't play up to par like they have been playing all year. North Carolina came out and they played really well. They took it to them right off the back, and Duke, they tried to make a push at the end to try to get back into the game, but North Carolina, they held their own, and they ended up with the victory. And like you said, there was a critical win for them to take them off of the bubble and to possibly getting them into the NCAA tournament. I watched North Carolina play quite a few games this year, and they hadn't been looking like the North Carolina old. And but again, they did win on yesterday. I think they did put them in the NCAA tournament, and then also, like you said, they got the ACC tournament coming up. So who knows? They could get a win or two there. They'll definitely solidify their chances. But I think they're in now.
Absolutely. I like I said, I've seen North Carolina. I mean, even less than a month ago, Duke goes down, on Chapel Hill and just lays, a monster on them, And I think that the presumption feeling is that, that was going to happen again, in this magnitude. But then again, sports is the greatest unwritten script because you just never know, especially when you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds, and
Yep.
you
Yep.
know, uh, you never know what happens. So like you said, the implications for UNC is that now they're in the tournament, takes a little bit of pressure off of them. Next week in the um, ACC tournament up in Brooklyn. So yes, you want to build some momentum if you're off that victory if you're North Carolina, but you don't have to. I think they didn't beat Duke, which is kind of what everybody thought. They might have to win a game or
Hmm.
two in a tournament. Another team, today who kind of maybe were able to shake themselves off the bubble, and that's the Michigan Wolverines. A
Yep.
team who had high expectations coming off last year with Juwan
Last year.
Howard, star forward Hunter Dickerson, good recruiting class. And they just kind of been blah all year. They get a victory here and there. They go and, they home victories against Purdue. Um, but today, they go down to Columbus and beat their rivals in Ohio State. And, and a much needed victory. Another team. I don't know if this takes them squarely off the bubble because if they lay an egg down in the Big Ten tournament, they could find themselves on the wrong side. But this is huge for a Wolverine team that's gone through a lot. Especially the last couple weeks with their coach being suspended for the season. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a big win for Michigan. Of course, like you said, they needed it, and I still think they got some work to do. I mean, their overall record is 17-13, and I definitely think they still have some more work to do. They still need to get a few more wins. Possibly they can win the Big Ten, which is a long shot, but who knows? Stranger things have happened. With Juwan Howard being suspended, they've been still been playing basketball. But again, I don't think that they're in yet. I think that they still need some. I think that they still need some more work to be done by them.
This is off the record, but who's your bracketologist you go to? Are you Joe Lenardi or Jerry
Yeah,
Palm?
Lenardi.
Yeah, I flip flop back and forth. I think it's always. I usually bring out both brackets. Their last one. They put out. Right before 6 o'clock next Sunday. See who's more accurate. It's interesting. Like obviously they're not. They don't know anything because they're not in the rooms talking. But they may not get the right. Seating. But usually out of 6 to 8 teams, they get
They get yeah.
65, 66, and you kind of have a good idea.
Oh
What's
yeah,
going on.
you do get a good idea. I mean, it's just like, like the guys that do the mock draft for the NFL and NBA. They do those drafts, and people people. Some people put emphasis into it, and some people don't. But but in reality, they do have some type of insight. They've been doing it for a long time, so they know something. So some of those first round picks or those second round picks, they're pretty much hit the nail on the head with them for the most part. Every now and then you'll have a guy that might slip out of the first round and go to the second round because of some unforeseen things, but like I said, for the most part, they're on point, and it's the same thing I think with Lenardi, and he's a well known name that everybody kind of relies on, like with the bracketology and stuff. So, um, I mean, he's a go to guy. So I mean, I think like you said, I think for the most part, he gets it right.
Absolutely, they do their homework, so I'll be hit refresh on their pages here in the next week or so, especially as get the conference tournament season coming up, and teams win or they lose, and everybody's on pins and needles.
Yep.
So Erwin, as a former SEC player and played in conference tournaments, what goes into from the last regular season game to you arrive in the destination. Oops, what happened? Sorry about that. I don't know what happened over there, but what goes into prep, as a team and as a program, because a lot of times if you win, you keep on playing and you have no days off. How
Hmm.
do you go from playing one team to the next? It's a guy who who had a lot of success, in the SEC tournament.
So I mean, really going. So you already played teams, most of the teams once or twice during the year. So you already know, you kind of know what to expect. Your preparation is going to be, of course, the first game that you're playing in the tournament will be a little bit more detailed because you have more time to prepare for them. But then the next game, once you go into the second game, you basically it's a back-to-back game, and so you really have to be on point with your details. You have to be on point with your nutrition. I mean, your medical staff has to be. Everybody has to be on one accord as it relates to that next game because you have to make sure that your body's taken care of. You have to make sure that everything's in line. And guys have different things that they do before the games, so it kind of a lot of things. I know it cuts things short because you never know. Sometimes you might have a game at, I don't know, 1 o'clock one day. Then next game is at 7 o'clock. So it's just depending on the times and all that. So, but for the most part, that you have to. But the most important thing is just really just having your mind and body ready, getting ready to play at least 3 games, and then you have to have your mind set on that because like you said, you can go in there. You have teams that can go in there that you never expect or thought could win any conference tournament, and they can go in there and pull off an upset. And that's the one thing that you don't want to happen because if you're one of the teams that really are on the bubble and have the possibility of getting in, if you win a few, and you have a team that has no chance of getting in, and they come in and win the tournament, that takes a spot away possibly from you because you're on the bubble and they come in their team that they weren't even thought of, but they come in and win. So again, you see those teams, during the conference, before the in the conference before the conference tournament. So you know what to expect. You know what they can do. It's really all about executing, doing what you need to do, and who wants it the most. I think that's what it boils down to.
That's some great insight. So let's say go back to your time. You win your first game in the tournament, and you have a game the next day. What? When do you start preparing for the next game? Do you just obviously the coaches, assistant coaches are probably have the game planned, and do you just go to bed or do you just start watching film and doing walkthroughs? What's the hours after victory leading up to the next game like?
Well, once you win a game and you're playing the next day, you're in you're practicing. You really just practice. You practice in the hotel. Like they'll have a makeshift court they have set up at the hotel, and they set up. You're going through the offense. You're gonna watch film. You're gonna know the stuff that you need to know in order for you to succeed on the court. So it starts like soon as you win that game, that game. So once you get back to the hotel, I mean, it's game preparation then. Like they'll have printouts out of who does this, who does that, and who rebounds, the offset offense, all that stuff, and then we'll go through a walkthrough at the hotel and you'll just prepare, watch film, and do all that. So it starts right after you win that first game.
So I mean, I guess so you after win a couple of games, your body and mind are probably just exhausted, and
Yeah,
and then
that's that,
if
and
you're
that's where
playing,
your medical staff. That's where your medical staff comes in, and they play a key part, during the whole entire season. But when you're playing in tournaments where it's back to back games, they're probably the most important people, because, like you said, they're the ones that have to get our bodies ready, whether it's massage, whether it's treatment, cold tub, whatever it may be. So they are the ones that work overtime to get us ready, for those back to back games.
yeah, that's awesome. So let's go to the SEC. What are kind of storylines? I mean, really, you don't have a whole lot of teams I don't think are playing for the bubble. I think there's a lot in the SEC playing for seeding.
Hmm.
Because I look at Florida as the only team that right now I
Yeah.
think they might probably on the wrong side of the bubble. But they play in the day two against they're the ninth seed. So Florida's season they did a lot of their heavy work in the preseason and in the sense of getting their quality victories. the only black eye really in the preseason, not pre, but non-conference season is a loss against Texas Southern, at home,
Mm-hmm.
which is obviously a quad 4 loss, which is not good. But kind of balances off with beating Auburn when they're number
Auburn,
2.
yeah.
So that kind of balances off. In between, they were just kind of been an average team at best. But that to me, they have a Texas A&M, day one. That's a must win. To me, that gets them on the bubble. They beat Texas A&M, a team they lost to a couple weeks ago. And then they'll play Auburn the next day. So I mean, I don't. If they beat Texas A&M and Auburn, they're in. Most likely what's going to happen, they beat Texas A&M and they probably come short again against Auburn. With that, that's kind of the big question mark. Does the one victory in the SEC tournament get you in or not? What's your thoughts for the Gators?
I know they had them. I know they did have them. Had them one of the the last team in SEC that were making the tournament. And like you said, they beat Auburn. I honestly think they'll get in. They win if they win the first game. Like you said, they win the first game, Texas A&M. Um, they'll advance. They're not going to beat Auburn twice. I mean, I watched that game. The guy, Applegate, I think he made some shots.
Yes.
He made some shots that unbelievable. I mean, he was unconscious, and trust me, they lost. Auburn lost to them on the road. In Florida, that ain't happening again in the SEC tournament. Like Auburn is probably one of the favorites to win the SEC tournament. I don't see them beating them twice in a year. Like they just Auburn. They made some careless mistakes. They went through a little stretch where they wasn't playing really really good basketball. I watched them play Mississippi State, and they went in overtime to beat them. I mean, it was a hard fought game, and they ended up going to overtime and beating them. And so you have stretches like that during the season where you go through a tough period and you're trying to figure out you're playing well at one point, and then the next point you're kind of down, and then you take a loss, and you just have to find out. Get that niche back. From what happened, go back to the drawing board, regroup, and start to see what you're doing wrong, because it happens to the best teams. I mean, another example in the NBA, the Golden State Warriors. They started off playing really well. Now they've been going through a tough stretch, but they lost some games, and then they'll come back and win some. So it's just part of sports in general. But it's left up to the players and the coaching staff to find a way to get over that hump.
Absolutely. So we'll see what happens in a sense for Florida. But in the grand scheme of things, I don't think Florida's a contender to win the SEC tournament. If you had to put money on, who do you think is going to win this tournament?
I want to say Alabama, but
that's why I said put money on it, because then money talks, and you're not going to just waste money. So.
Honestly, like I'll be shocked if either Auburn or Kentucky if they didn't win the SEC tournament. Just from what they've done, during the conference. The conference season. I don't see. But if I had to bet between them, Auburn and Kentucky, I hate to say it, but I'm gonna go with Auburn. I think that they just have it. They got a niche. I think their guards. I mean, I think they guard. I know I watched their guards. They struggled a little bit. They struggled a little bit at points and times during the season, and then they played well at points and times in the season. But I think that the one thing I think they do need to understand and realize that Jabari Smith is their best player on the team, and sometimes I think that the two guards, Green and I forgot the other guy's name, Johnson. Sometimes they take some bad shots, and they have to understand that Jabari Smith is their best player. They need to get him the ball sometimes, sometimes down the stretch, because and then he's their best player. Like he's made. I mean, they've all made big shots, but again, he's their best player, and you got to live with that. And so, I think that Auburn will win. If I had to bet anything, I think that they're the top favorite for the SEC title. Like I said, from what they've done in the regular season and how they've been playing. I mean, how can you argue that?
Absolutely. I mean, when I look at when you've got these formats where you keep on adding the best teams each day, it's like you said, the grind of playing in. Once you got a team that's basically got 2 days off, the top four seeds, they have such a great advantage, in a tournament
Hmm.
like this. Um, I mean, talent for talent, I think Kentucky, Auburn, just they'll come play each other on Sunday. It wouldn't surprise me any of the top four seeds, could play, make it the championship, and that'd be Auburn number one, Kentucky or Tennessee two, Kentucky three, and Arkansas four. Because all of them are relative. Actually, Auburn might be the team that's coming in, maybe not as hot as the other teams are. They've kind of struggled a little bit during the points, but I think Kentucky's playing well overall. Um, Arkansas, they had a tough one at Tennessee yesterday, but kind
Yeah,
of did what Arkansas does and just kept fighting and made that a really good game.
they did.
In general, it's hard in regular season. It's hard to win games in the road in the SEC. If you
Oh
can
yeah,
steal a couple, kind of proven. There's all the top teams have lost. Games on the road. And in
that's
conference
true.
season, you protect your home court and you try to win as much as you can on the road. I think, and that gets you those double buys, which are important. The rest of your body. So
Yes, sir.
so I'll go with you. I'll go Auburn. So we'll both roll.
War Eagle,
War Eagle,
as,
not
they-
roll
as they
tide. I'm
say,
sorry.
as
War
they
Eagle.
say, as they say.
All right. So let's go moving on to ACC down in Brooklyn. I mean, I would get they're the team to beat in this tournament.
Duke, yeah. Tell me somebody that's. I know they lost to North Carolina yesterday, but again, um, I don't think anybody else in the ACC can beat them. They're loaded, and yeah, I think Krzyzewski came back out on the court and he kind of reiterated too that with the players, he apologized to the fans about the loss on yesterday, and I think they kind of put the players on notice. And, when a coach does something like that, everyone in the locker room is is on notice. Like seriously, I've had coaches to do me like that, and playing professionally, and so I know what's that like, and uh, so they'll be on point when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's Duke or anybody else. Every other, Duke, yeah, their biggest weakness is probably just youth, and that just happens when you go and get the blue chips every year and replace your team. But as long as the veterans they do have, Wendell Moore, who's kind of been through the grind for a couple of years, kind of
Yep.
leads. But at the same time, any of these teams, in Miami, can get hot. I
Yep.
saw them yesterday against Syracuse down by 7 with the minute left and coming back and winning a game. Um, this little guy, David Moore at point guard, can really shoot the rock. McCuskey is a transfer from Oklahoma State, very good. And then you got a team like Notre Dame, who was kind of this, preseason team, picked towards the bottom of the conference, but they kind of just grinded it away. They're not, you know, I think what's one of the great underrated coaches in college basketball is Mike Brey because he kind of just takes the team he gets and he'll put it all either on offense or all on defense. Kind of familiarizes his team each year to their strengths and weaknesses, and that's kind of he doesn't have a system. He just coaches to the players he has.
Yep.
And I think a school like Notre Dame where you get all the star players for football, but in order basketball, you're not getting the top players every year. So they're not a championship caliber team every year, but
Yeah.
I really like that team. See them play a couple of times. They kind of grind it out. See them, really do great against teams, but I also saw them score 34 points against Duke in a game. So when they're not hitting shots, they're not hitting shots, and they're tough.
I'll add to that. Another team that normally is really good in ACC that sticks out and they hadn't done as well this year is Florida State. Florida State normally is a team that you can rely on. They always be hanging around, the top 10, top 15, year in and year out. And this year has been one of those odd years for them. I know they lost some guys in the NBA draft, this past season. But normally they're one of the top tier teams that that stays, like I said, in the top 10, top 15, and in the country, and they play some really good basketball. But for whatever reason this year, whether it's injuries or COVID protocol, whatever it may be, I mean they're not playing or they hadn't played as done. I don't think to expectation.
Absolutely. I think they had some injuries. They started off pretty good, and then they lost a whole bunch of games in a row.
They did.
But
Yep.
Leonard Hamilton's, they always add athletes, and those they kind of all look the same, and that what makes when they're good because all their players can defend 1 through 5. They're long, lanky, always play unselfish. They're always not necessarily the greatest shooting team, or they play above the rim. They play hard nosed man to man defense usually. So are the kind of characteristics you look out of a Leonard Hamilton team. So I've seen the ups and the downs. I've seen them compete against the best teams, but also see them lose by 20 points to a really bad Boston College team. So yes, they're not the 8 seed, so they play Syracuse right away. If they win, then they get Duke.
Yep.
Obviously there's really no pressure because maybe pressure to get into the NIT. You got to beat Syracuse, but that's definitely a team I feel like if they can get that first win, and they get some momentum going, they could definitely cause some havoc. That's a good point. And you got teams that maybe like another team, maybe Virginia, who's not had their banner year they normally do, but again, this is a typical Virginia team. If their shots fall, they're really tough to beat. They go into Cameron and beat Duke maybe about a month ago because they compete elite on defense. They're always one shot away. So this year, for years, they were the difference. For a couple of years is they were getting elite offensive players to play really great defense. And they just don't have that this year. But at the same token, when you play that hard in defense, they may not win this tournament, but they get, who they would play North Carolina in the second, if they're able to get through Louisville, Georgia Tech. So you could see anything happen. And then we'll go to the Tar Heels. If they play like they did last night, anything's up for them.
Yeah.
That just reminded me of a typical North Carolina team, running, gunning, get the ball to the rim, and hit open shots. It seemed like Roy Williams was coaching that team, but I haven't seen a lot of the blueprint of, Roy Williams during this year, and it's nothing, Hubert Davis is trying to create his own, team, but with Roy Williams, it was, you rebound like crazy, you get the ball to your bigs down low as quick as possible, and when they double, you hit the open shot, that was kind of what they did for so many years, but they weren't consistently doing it against good teams. They do against bad teams, but this, kind of all came together last night. And if that was just, fluke or, that was a team that's catching fire at the right time. So we'll see going into that. Other things that kind of before we switch gears to, pro ball, under the radar team, Murray State went through the whole Ohio Valley Conference undefeated, won their conference tournament. So that's a team, I think that's going to be, I see both Jerry Palm and Joe Lenardi have them as a 5 or 6 seed. So definitely a team to keep your eye on, for maybe not a household name, but a team program that's produces elite talent like a John Morant. Well, they have 2 players, really star players that played with him, as younger players, who are still in the program, really good team to watch. And then another team punch their ticket is Longwood. So they've So we got in the last team today to punch a ticket is Loyola Chicago, who is your typical Loyola Chicago team. I know they got a new coach. Porter Moses is off to Oklahoma. But it's Denzel Valentine. You're familiar with his player from Michigan State, played for, I believe, for the Bulls. I don't know if he's still there, but his brother coaches the team. Really, really sound fundamental team. Again, play good defense. Typical Missouri Valley basketball. If you ever watch Missouri Valley basketball, it's it's football on the basketball court. You never if you want to see up and down basketball, that's not the league to watch. If you want to see good hard nosed half court basketball, that's where you want to go to. So the typical team that wins that conference, Loyola Chicago. I don't know if they're a Final Four team like they were a couple years ago, but a team you probably don't want to play because they're just going to put you through the meat grinder for 40 minutes. They're going to set picks. They're going to make you play defense, and a lot of these, higher echelon teams, the games played at a certain speed and level. You're not used to playing like that so then you go, in March and you have to totally play a team totally different, it really throws you off. And that's in the other end of the spectrum, years ago when you had VCU or Shaka Smart, you don't see teams pressing for 40 minutes. You do. And it's hard to prepare for, a team that plays that hard, and, because you can play at your own speed in college basketball, the upper conferences without pressing, and you don't have to unless you're in desperate need. So when you go against a team that goes totally opposite, for them to beat years ago, beating a Kansas team that had the Morris twins on there and a couple other pros, it's still, it's great. That's what makes March special. So we'll like we said, 1 week from now we'll have, all 68 teams. We'll be breaking down some brackets. Probably spend the majority of our time that day, going over, the funnest couple weeks in basketball. So.
Oh yeah.
Or you'll be traveling to wherever Alabama plays to watch them play.
No, I doubt. I don't know. I mean, who knows? I'm just, I'm like I said, we're going to get into the tournament again this year, so that's be back to back tournament. So I'm really happy about that. The main thing, and for me and everybody else, is just really see just the consistency part and just picking up that and taking care of the basketball. That's those are the two things that we need to step up and going into the SEC tournament. I think that's one of the things that we kind of need to clean up. If we plan on advancing and going far in the SEC tournament as well as the NCAA tournament, we're gonna have to take care of the ball because, like you just mentioned, you're playing against a Loyola Chicago or whomever. They can come in and they'll beat you. Like we talked about this last week, how smaller teams, receive smaller teams, they have something to prove. And, every year people brackets, and they get busted. I mean, it's just how it is. I mean, but that makes the NCAA tournament fun though. That's what makes March fun. They're right there, seeing people brackets getting torn up, because they picked a blue blood team over a smaller team, and the smaller team beat them. So that's what makes it fun. So again, this is the fun one. This is the funnest part of the year. As we wind down for all conference tournaments, and then also the NCAA tournament. So I can't wait.
Awesome. Me either. We'll see, how the week shakes out, and what we got going on, when we have our bracket out here. Moving on, we talked about Erwin's, college team lost yesterday, but his pro team, the Lakers, have a stunning victory against, the Warriors. It's been a tough week. We talked last Sunday night, as they were playing the Pelicans and get embarrassed on national TV.
Yeah.
Then, they lose the Mavericks, and then they go and get embarrassed again by the Clippers So you have your fourth game in a row on national TV Saturday night against another team that needed a victory for, not for playoff reasons, but for morale reasons, in the Warriors.
Yeah.
And LeBron James finds, 20-year-old LeBron James last night, and, tears him up for, a 50 piece, so,
Hey, LeBron, I mean, that's LeBron, like you said, that's 20-year-old LeBron. That's LeBron from Miami. I mean, that's LeBron back when he went back to Cleveland. I mean, LeBron he was what the Lakers needed last night, because if he didn't give him everything that he had last night, they would have lost that game too. But I mean, LeBron came out and 56 points. I mean, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, whatever. I mean, he shot the three ball well. He got to the cup. He finished and ones. I mean, it was nothing they could do with him. I mean, he reverse dunk. I mean, he was pulling 3 pointers from very, very, very far. And so now you look at that now, and the Lakers they won that game, right? So it's an important win for them. And like LeBron said, they needed that. He said he didn't care about the points. He was just thinking about them needing to win, which was what they needed. Well, LeBron, if LeBron is not going to put up 56 night in, night out, so you're still waiting on Anthony Davis to get healthy. Westbrook, I mean, he played okay last night. I think he ended up with 20. But you still need once Anthony Davis get back, and you're just hoping that once he gets back, he's healthy enough and he stays healthy enough to give him that 1-2 punch, and then if Westbrook could come and possibly contribute and do what he's done in the past with other organization. They definitely have a shot. I mean, a shot to shock some people. For them to win, I mean, I say this, they have enough to win the title, but I mean, the way they've been playing over the course of the season, it's going to be really, really tough for them to even possibly pull that off. They haven't been defending as well, and so that's another thing. That's you rely on all your scoring when you don't defend as well, and they haven't been playing really good defense. And you can blame it on, you can say, oh, we got to take out some older guys and all that stuff. Yeah, that may be true, but still, at the end of the day, you have to have guys that contribute to the team, in a positive way, and can come out and do their jobs. I mean, whether it's scoring, whether it's playing defense, whatever they need you to do, just play your role and do it. I mean, if everybody plays their role on the team, I think that they can go pretty far. Like I said, I don't think that they'll win they'll win a championship, but they could possibly get to the finals.
Some bold prediction there from the team.
Yeah, I'm gonna be bold because I like I said, I told you from day one, I like LeBron.
Hey, I do the same way with my teams, the Mavericks. So you look through rose-colored glasses, sometimes, But I watching, when they played the Mavericks Tuesday, they fell behind by 20 points in the first half, or but they turned it on, and like you said yesterday, LeBron pulling up from the logo, when he pulls up from there, and he makes it, there's a certain energy, and he brings and confidence the other players have, and I really thought they're gonna, they end up taking a 6-point lead against Mavericks, but then all of a sudden, once that mojo was gone, they just fell flat again. Testament they didn't give up, but I saw that same team fall behind, against the Clippers on Thursday and just ravel,
Oh,
to me, to me, the team has got to find a way not to fall behind by this many points on a night in, night out basis, because it's the NBA, you can come back, but you got to find a way to start games better, and stay close,
But what I'm saying is that does, showing what they did yesterday, right? That gives you that shows you what they could possibly be. Now, on the other hand, like you said, the Clippers against the Mavericks, that shows you when they're not playing defense or when they're not scoring, how bad they could be. If they take care, they have to take care of the basketball. Um, I argue about this all the time. Like my brother-in-law, he's like one of the biggest. He's one of the biggest LeBron haters ever, and we argue about it all the time. Or whatever, I mean, he does not like LeBron James. He was a Lakers fan at one point, but now that LeBron is there in LA, he doesn't like it. He cheers for another team. We're not gonna talk about that, but again, if if the Lakers are healthy and if AD is rolling and LeBron is rolling, I know they're saying a lot because AD has not been there much to really see what they could do as a team. Um, but if he is there and he's healthy and he's playing well, I mean they can definitely do something. I mean, I'm not like I said, I'm not saying that they can win a title, but I definitely think that they can possibly compete for it. I mean, just think, going back to the bubble when they won it, when they was crowned. So, hey, you never know.
Hey, when you got two, I think, yeah, obviously, hopefully AD will be back by April, so if you can keep them healthy, then you got two superstars, and I think this team, and you got guys like Malik Monk playing for future contracts. Um,
Yeah,
that helps. There's just a time I feel like, without AD, Dwight Howard, isn't giving you consistent minutes off the bench. You go small and then you're just getting killed on the boards as a team. LeBron's a great rebounder, but
but
who else
again,
is going down there? And
yeah, they got
um,
rid of DeAndre Jordan, so I mean he wasn't giving them a lot anyway, so
no, I
that's
mean,
fine. But you got again, you got AD, he's been hurt, and then you rely on LeBron to be play the 4 or 5, and I mean Dwight Howard is not. I mean, Dwight Howard, he's not consistent enough. Like he will have some spurts where he will go in, where he will go out and give you some good minutes. He'll rebound the ball, play physical, and then it'd be other nights where you come out and you don't even know he's out there, or he'll do some silly, get a technical foul, and just kind of just not being really locked in and engaged to what he needs to be doing on the court.
absolutely. So we'll remind me DeAndre Jordan. We talked this uh, last week. The impacts of Joel Embiid, logging a lot of minutes. So we're gonna take that same DeAndre Jordan and bring him. It may seem like a late season move for depth, but I think that's big. Because if you can get the DeAndre Jordan for 6 to 8 minutes, each half, who can rebound, I think they quickly realized Willie Cauley-Stein's better days are behind him. So I could have told you as a Mavericks fan, but
Hey, I didn't even know he had any. When was his good days?
yeah, that's what I'm talking. I, in the Mavericks, he was, if he does his role of just playing, you know hard nosed post defense, but it's when he ventures out, tries to take the jump shots, and you're just like, there's a wasted possession there. It's staying within his game. I think is um, tough. But you got a guy like Daniel Jordan who the pro's pro. He's gonna go out there, and just battle. And if there's a game, where they need to give Embiid rest, he can log those minutes for longer stretches, and keep him in the game. He's probably not going to be maybe a huge playoff contributor at times, but I think this helps him bide the season, and bide some time for Joel Embiid, to stay fresh. This is a team that became a championship contender when you got James Harden, when they added James Harden, and they haven't, they haven't disappointed, and
hmm
to me, now we're talking SEC, they are one of, Tyrese Maxey to almost a big three comparison,
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
I mean, I don't know if you want to put him as a star, Tyrese Maxey, but he's turning into one. If he consists, to me, a star is a guy who produces on a game in, game out, guaranteed, when he shows up on the court. And he's getting to that level, and it's only going to get easier, when you get those um,
Harden and
double teams with
Embiid. Yep.
Harden, and Embiid, and that's one thing I think Harden gets this stigma as being a ball. But you ever look at his stats, he's always near 9, 10 assists,
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the game, though, you want your best players to have the ball. So, yeah, maybe he's a
Yeah.
little ball hoggish. But that's just you want the ball in best player's hands. But, through 3 quarters, he's going to share that ball when the people are open.
I think like to add on what you just said, Tyrese Maxey, I think one of the best things that could have happened, of course, with the Harden trade, him coming to the 76ers, but I think that also, I think James Harden's kind of taking him on his wing and kind of been mentoring him some, and even I remember I remember when he first came to Philadelphia, he was on the bench and he talked about how he was giving him like different little pointers and stuff about attacking the basket and things of that nature. And so, and it's showing now. He's playing. He's a benefit. He's benefiting from Embiid and the things that Embiid and Harden is doing. Like you said, he could be the third wheel. I mean, like you said, I don't know if I don't know if he's a superstar, but he's definitely a star behind those two guys, and the way he's been playing. So, again, they can be a 1, 2, 3 punch. I really do think so.
Yeah, and they really brought Tobias Harris to be the fourth punch. I don't, I way overpaid for that guy. But, uh, but at the same time, again, the guy he's got all the athletic ability and just, if he can, dominate that forward position, his opponent, that's a really good team. And to me, they're moving up the pecking order, in the Eastern Conference really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Before we, close up shop here, any thoughts, NBA wise you want to add?
No, I mean, like I said, we talked about last week. The NBA, is winding down as well, and these teams are going to start making some push. To see who's gonna be, who's gonna be, number 1, 2, 3, 4 seed. And that's part. That this is gonna be interesting. I watched Chicago play the other day, and I know we talked about it last week. Um, how if I told you I didn't think that Chicago could actually win. They could win a few games in the first round, but I don't think they could possibly win a first round. Um, I watched them play against Milwaukee. I mean, they're like this. They're real close, but they can't. I mean, I take it back. I said that they could win a first round pick. I'm taking it back now. I don't think they can win it. I mean, they're close. They're close, but they're not experienced enough to be able to win those type of games. They are they're real young. They're real young. Like I watched Holiday. I mean, the kid from Illinois. I mean, they schooled him, and I understand the ball's out, still
Yeah.
out with a knee injury, and it would have been a little bit different. But I still think that Chicago's just young. They don't have the experience that Milwaukee or some of the other teams that they'll be facing. In the playoffs and stuff. I don't think they have that experience. They'll win a game or two, but I don't see them winning an entire series. Now, I mean, just watching them some more, and they had a stat where they hadn't beat any of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. They hadn't beaten out one of the teams. Like I think they came close the other day to beat Milwaukee, but they hadn't beat any of those teams. And in order for you to be crowned the king, you got to go through those big time teams like Milwaukee and Miami, and they hadn't done any of that yet.
Yeah, and one more, Eastern Conference nugget. A team that's kind of came from the back, is pushing their way front is the Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum is,
Yeah,
balling out right now.
yeah, 54 points tonight.
Yeah,
54, yeah.
taking the team on his back here, a team that I think, most people wrote off early in the season, they weren't playing well, but, something kind of clicked the last couple weeks, and they just, they're waking up to the pack, the pack,
Yeah.
Miami, Philadelphia, Milwaukee, Chicago, they're right up there with them, 39-27. So,
Jaylen Brown was out too, though, right? He
yeah,
was out for
Jalen
a little
Brown's
bit,
not playing. So, I
so
mean,
he's back now, but he was out.
yeah, yeah. So, having him back helps, but it just kind of, he's not an MVP candidate per se because that's enough for a whole year. But, there's a guy you want on your team right now playing, it's Jason Tatum, so we'll
Yep.
see how that, shakes out, I still, you look, we talk about the Lakers and struggling, and I know the Nets got their own issues, but 32-33, did not see that coming, hanging on by a thread, I think the Lakers will be okay to make the play in. But, I mean, if they don't get help quick, the Nets, because even having Durant coming back and, they're not. they
They're
lost,
not.
they lost the Heat team the other night without Butler, Tucker, Hero. At home, I don't know what to think about. And I know how much
Durant,
is going to help the last 10 games of the year.
he like Durant said it best. They asked him, a reporter asked him how long did he think it would take him to, kind of get back. He said sometimes it might be a game, it might be 2 games, it might be, it could possibly take him a month to get back. You never know. So coming up, I've experienced the same thing, injuries and stuff. It takes time to kind of bounce back and get back into form. Kyrie Irving, again, like I said a few weeks ago, he's Kyrie Irving. He's gonna ball. He's gonna get shot attempts. He's gonna do what he got to do. But again, what I'm looking at, the big trade that they just made, Ben Simmons. I want to see, what he's gonna do whenever he suits up, and how they're gonna instill and put him in offense, and what is he gonna be able to do. That's what I'm looking at, because again, they made the trade to get him, and so they had to see something in him in order for them to make that trade. And so it'll be real interesting to see what he does, and what the Brooklyn Nets, what they do, because like you said, they were playing well at one point, and now, like you said, 32-33. I mean, 32-33, and they're not playing well. They're not playing it well at all. So it's gonna be very interesting coming down the stretch with them, because again, they hadn't been playing, and this team right here, this team was constructed for them to win a NBA title, and right now the things that they're doing, that's not the case.
Yeah, it's just, you can't rank championships, in the preseason, so, you never know what goes on, so we'll see what happens, they need, if Ben Simmons is going to play, they need him on the court ASAP. We're only talking 17 games left in the regular season, and
Yeah.
And if anything, you're probably locked into the play-in tournament. So, and if you probably want to be in the top half, the 7 or 8 seed, because if you're a 9-10 seed in the play-in tournament, hey, you got to win 2 games back to back on the road. It's tough, So, we'll see what happens there. Like I said, maybe next week, we might not talk a lot of NBA basketball with the bracket just being released. So, by the time we really get cracking in a lot of NBA basketball here, towards the end of March and April, after NCAA is winding down, we'll have a really good idea of what's happening. I think now after the trades, and teams, which teams are gearing up and which teams the coaches are telling, management's telling the coaches, don't play your star players. We want to get better in the lottery. I'm a big fan of the playing system, because now, without the playing, a lot of teams would have nothing to play for, and I think the playing tournament at least puts pressure on teams to keep playing to the end of the season. You don't get the tanking, Yes, Orlando, Houston, those teams don't care about winning right now, because their sights are set on the winning, building through the draft. But you have still a team like the Wizards, they're getting Porzingis back. Maybe they can win a couple of games and put pressure on the Nets. To win. At the end of the season, maybe play. So it just adds another couple of teams in there. So we'll see what happens here as we gear back up for the NBA finish here and playoffs coming up. But all right, I hope your Crimson Tide do some work down in Tampa this weekend, and that
we're gonna bounce back. We got
it'll be good, yeah.
we got whoever wins between Vandy and Georgia, so we should be.
Oh, you'll be good there. You'll be good there.
Yeah, we should be. Yeah, we'll be good there. And then once we get past that, then we'll see. We'll see. We'll talk about it.
You'll get Kentucky there, so yeah, won't be easy.
Hey man, hey look, if we play, I mean Kentucky's definitely beatable. We definitely can beat them, but we just have to play.
Absolutely. Hey, fun team to watch, fun conference to watch. SEC basketball. Conference tournaments going on all week. Starting. We got some more smaller conference championships to be crowned here first couple of days, and then the big boys take the court, and championship Saturday and Sunday lead into selection Sunday. So everybody keep an eye out on our Twitter and Facebook page to get some information that's going on in the conference tournaments and all other sports. And I've got NFL Combine just finished up, so I know we got a lot of draft guys gearing up for the mock drafts here. So a lot happening here in the world of sports. Any closing thoughts here before we're done?
Man, no closing thoughts, man. Just excited about the tournaments and stuff about to roll around, and man, just ready to watch that. Like I said, it's one of the fun times of the year, and so I'm just gearing up for that.
Awesome. Well, we are closing up shop here. Again, follow us on all our social media accounts, and we'll see you back here next Sunday night. Out of here.
Peace.